light as well.
Mhm.
So you can
Yeah.
actually hear us a lot better.
Yeah, it does.
So hopefully it'll.
Yeah. So we're live now, okay?
Sit down and be still. Uh-oh. What happened?
Okay.
Oh, it's good? Okay.
We got about 17.
It's like,
Did we touch something? I just put this book down. I just thought I unplugged
you
it.
could scoot it up a little bit. It's in your way. So now that you don't have to actually
Use it
play with
tonight.
it.
Turn it off if you have.
6 o'clock.
Anyhow, just misses.
Go ahead and start this meeting. Start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The flag of the state of New Mexico is the symbol of perfect friendship among the United cultures.
Good evening, everyone. We will start our meeting with the oath of office administered by Ms. Noreen Hendrickson, Magistrate Judge, for Mr. Jehu Knapp.
Is it up here? Yeah.
Usually we just go.
It's right there. That's fine where you want. All right. Yeah, so you don't have to step up.
Sir, I'm going to say I am, and you're going to state your name. And your name forward. If you would raise your right hand. I
Jehu Knapp,
do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution and laws of the state of New Mexico,
and the Constitution and laws of the state of New Mexico,
and that I will faithfully and impartially discharge the duties of the office
I will faithfully and impartially discharge the duties of the office
as a member of the Tucumcari Public School Board of Education,
as a member of the Tucumcari Public Schools Board of Education,
District Number 1,
District Number 1,
Coy County, New Mexico,
Cook County, New Mexico,
which I am about to enter into,
which I am about to enter into,
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability,
so help me God.
so help me God. Thank you.
I don't think that comes with me.
Yes. All right.
All right.
Ellen, does that have a district number on there, on that sheet? We just need to make sure we get the right number.
It says District Number 1.
Well, I think it says Tucumcari Public School Board of Education, District Number 1.
So it should be District 5.
It's 5, actually.
Dr. Pacheco's District 1.
That's okay.
Okay, so will this be all right if I change it to 5?
I don't know. Well,
Just draw a line in initially.
Okay, okay.
okay.
I mean.
I read
we've got
that.
7 witnesses.
I read
Yeah,
it
so
wrong.
We're all here, we know we're getting the right.
Hi, you're welcome.
I just read it wrong.
District Judge.
You're welcome. Good luck.
Thank you, Ms. Hendrickson.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Sorry, I read that wrong.
Okay, next, the board reorganization, election of board president, election of board vice president, and election of board secretary.
Madam President, I do have a question for our business manager. So the last report that you gave us last time was to change for banking signatures, right?
Right.
Okay, so we still got to change banking signatures again for New Mexico Trust?
Yes,
then we'll-
and that has not been submitted because this was coming up. I figured let's just wait and see because it does have to be the president and the secretary, so.
So then we would actually have to do it again, come January again, because we have an election again
Yes,
in 3.
if it changes, yes.
Yes. Madam President, I think just for everything to be smooth sailing, we don't have to change anything. If this board agrees, if we just leave everything as is, and so we don't have to change nothing until the first of the year. But again, I think this for discussion because I don't think we need to change any of this stuff because it's great. I know that the 2 main signatures were the president and the secretary, but anybody else would seek a new position, I'm all for that as well, so.
My only question would be, and would JD come on as vice president, or would you elect? Because that's what we lost, right?
Yes.
And so the thing is I was reading about, I didn't see anywhere where it says that we have to actually have a vice president.
Okay,
but
you're
they-
saying, so you can just leave that open until.
Yes, but unless whatever the board
Yeah.
decides.
Sounds good with me, just leave it open until the 6 months is over and I'll re-elect, we can do something then.
Is it hard to change them?
To change a signature card? Not on my end. I mean, we just have to get the proper identification submitted to the bank.
I had no problem appointing somebody for vice president, you know.
Whatever the board decides.
The vice presidency and leave everything else alone, is that what we're at? With that being said, I'll take nominations for board vice president.
Can we just leave Matt as the vice president since he's taking over that part?
It's up to, we can nominate and vote, so. I think he'd probably want to get his feet a little wet before he jumps into anything like that, so.
Dive right in, it doesn't matter to me, whatever you guys wanna do, but that's probably the better idea.
So what all do we have to change on that Secretary of State? So we have to change diplomas, signatures. We have to change, what all has to be
It's
changed?
really just the bank stuff, right?
Yeah,
The diplomas and stuff will happen
yes,
after the next
Yeah.
election anyway.
yes. Because
That's what
yeah.
They have to send those in pretty early.
I'll let Nicole know when she comes back Monday.
We just want to leave it open until
So
the
whatever,
next election?
so just if you feel the vice presidency, then, you know, if I can't be here, then we have a little chain of command to run meetings.
Mhm.
My own.
I think when the president, vice president wasn't here, secretary filled that position, and that's happened in previous meetings before when president or the vice president wasn't here, the secretary filled in that position. So, but again, it's up to this board, whatever they want to do. So we need a motion to actually reappoint the president if this is what this board wants to do. It's calling for that for item A, and then item B and item C. So,
Well, I will take, for election of board president nomination,
Madam President, I go ahead and move current president, Mrs. Gonzalez, Heather Gonzalez, for president.
I'll second that.
roll call please.
Mr. Knapp? Yes or no? Mrs. Gonzalez?
Yes.
Dr. Pacheco?
Yes.
Mr. Lucero?
Yes.
Mr. Lopez?
Yes.
Next be nominations for election of board vice president.
Should be one.
Yeah, again, I'd like to nominate Matt.
You want the vice president position?
Yeah, I'm good with that.
Madam President, I'll go ahead and make a motion to go ahead and move Mr. Dr. Pacheco into the position of vice president.
No, second.
Roll call please.
Dr. Pacheco?
Yes.
Mr. Lucero?
Yes.
Mrs. Gonzalez?
Yes.
Mr. Lopez?
Yes.
Mr. Knapp?
Next will be election of board secretary. Item C.
I'd like to nominate, Mr. Lopez.
I'll second that.
Okay, roll call please.
Mrs. Gonzalez,
Yes.
Dr. Pacheco,
Yes.
Mr. Lucero,
Yes.
Mr. Knapp,
Yes.
Mr. Lopez.
Yes.
Great, next will be the approval of the agenda. Is there any changes that need to be made?
I think it's, we have a smart number.
If there's no changes to be made, I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
I'll second that.
Roll call, please.
Dr. Pacheco,
Yes.
Mr. Lucero,
Yes.
Mr. Knapp,
Yes.
Mr. Lopez,
Yes.
Mrs. Gonzalez.
Yes. Next will be the approval of the minutes from the June 29th, 2023 regular meeting, addendum A.
Madam President, I go to, shall move on that.
Before you do, on the, in the first sentence, it says the meeting was Monday the 29th. We actually ended up meeting on that
That's
Thursday.
Thursday.
So I think the 29th is right, but the,
Thursday.
it should say Thursday.
With that being said, with said corrections, Madam President?
Second that.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Lucero,
Yes.
Mr. Knapp,
Yes.
Mr. Lopez,
Yes.
Mrs. Gonzalez,
Yes.
Dr. Pacheco.
Yes.
Next will be public comments, but I don't think anybody signed up that I see, and Patrick or the other Mr. Knapp has something to say.
Nothing I can sign. He's holding his remarks.
Yeah, tell him. Much needed. So next will be the superintendent's report.
Okay. We'll try this again in a future meeting, hopefully next month. But behind addendum B is our fund balance report. We've gone through, it's really faint, hard to see, but we've subtotaled each set of funds and calculated them at the bottom of page 6. That ending balance of $6,412,188.18 does match our operating bank statement. The next page is our PED cash report. This goes through each fund as well, and the middle of page 3 of that report, red print, it shows that it is reconciled. And then following that is our operating bank statement. We take the ending bank balance, we subtract out our outstanding checks. That amount does match the fund balance report for the operating account. Behind addendum C is all the checks written for the month of June out of operating.
Ms. Martinez, I do have a question on the Silver Line rehab construction. What is that all about?
Silver Line Rehab Construction.
What page is it on?
On
The
the
first
check?
page
First page.
of the check.
It'll be right in the middle.
They work on sprinkler systems or something like that.
He came to the high school.
Like it's a new one, I don't remember that.
Our geothermal system.
Or what?
Having a geothermal, the ACs, that's
Okay.
part of the problem that we've been having with the units. And so he came and evaluated that. And it was pretty much the inspection and recommendation of what, it was for their time to go there. I think they were there, their electrician was there for like 3 or 4 days. With coding, kind of going over how the whole layout was, and the system wasn't the computer system wasn't connecting with the actual unit.
7182.
So, Ms. Hernandez, I believe you're procurement officer, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Are we checking these contractors that they are GB 98? I believe Silver Line Rehab is a GB 2. So therefore, we're not in compliance with these people that are not with commercial license.
I have to double check that, since the threshold was so low and wasn't so high, we need to get more into depth with that, but I can double check.
So I do understand that, but then also being said that we're doing business without commercial buildings, so that somebody has license and have to license to the school. So if we can get that clarified. With that being said, Madam President, I'd like to go ahead and approve without approval of Silver Line Rehab Construction to further,
Silver lining. Oh.
clarification on this. Go ahead and approve all checks, but this one right here, the Silver Line Rehab Construction, I want to make sure that when we're doing business with somebody, that that the service is not a liability back to us, because, you know, we are a commercial building.
So what's the PD to residential?
Yep.
Have these checks already been paid?
Yes.
Because
So there's
we've
no
already
way for us
received the
to-
check.
Yeah, well, with that being said, we're acknowledging the payment.
Right.
So now, moving forward, we need to make sure that, you know, we just don't hire anybody. And
Just give me a call tomorrow on that front. if you
Yes,
don't
I
mind.
I would like to get an update on that as well.
Sure.
And so with that geothermal at the high school, I've been told numerous times, and Mr. Johnson, is that, what is the big old hang up on this? Big old compressors there, or what? Because I'm being told that there's been a lot of work orders in, and still nothing coming in, and it's not our maintenance group, it's people that come in and service that. I was told that we were pushed by the state to actually put that system in. So, but if it's not suitable for our district, then when we're getting ready to go off the bond, we need to make sure
We
that.
do have lots of trouble with it, but I think we're getting closer. I think some of this here has helped us here lately. I think we found out, tell me again, we thought it was a pump not working, but really it's a reader.
The way
A
the
resistor.
supervisor, the way the maintenance supervisor explained it, because they kind of schooled him on how it all worked and got put together. And so the way he made it seem was that the systems weren't working together. And so that's where Silverline Construction was coming in to kind of school us. Nothing has been made as far as contracting them to come and actually do the work. That being, with kind of the guesstimate of what they were thinking it might cost, would go over the thresholds of procurement. So I'm branching out to see other companies that can come in that are familiar with the geothermal system that can help us with it. Since now the maintenance supervisor has a better understanding of what's going on with it, then I can go out to these other companies and say, okay, this is what we think is wrong with it. That way they can come in from out of town. A lot of it, what I've been told, is the dirt around here, the blowing dirt, with the geothermal, it just doesn't work as well. And so those are just guesstimates of what they're thinking of what's coming on. But a lot of it's compressors. A lot of it is just the layout and how it was put together. A lot of it is the actual computer system that we actually contract somebody out of Albuquerque to come out and do maintenance on it twice a year. They're not connecting, they're not talking to the actual units. And so that's just the whole puzzle work that we're dealing with to kind of figure out why it's acting the way that it's acting.
Has it
Okay,
been,
and I'm not condoning these people, Silver Line Rehab Construction, maybe their professional services are doing great, but again, the liability, if they don't actually have the right license, and they might, it's just from what, looking into, I might be wrong. And, but again, if that geo system is causing us a lot of headache, maybe that needs to be in our 5-year plan when we start discussing that. And when we're going out for bond, we need to make that, again, a priority, because, we're already taking care of the elementary, but we're working on middle school. Again, we have a nice state-of-the-art facility at the high school, and we hate to have to be like, okay, now we're dealing with the heating and air conditioning system.
Now let's stick window units in it.
It's definitely something that we're thinking of in the future to see what better suits the district.
Yeah, so.
Because we have had issues with it. I mean, we all know that we've had lots of
Even
issues.
like the day Patrick started,
Yeah.
that was his first project. was
Yeah.
working on that.
And
So that's why
at one
it's
point, they
like a
told us we needed to change those filters monthly or every 2 weeks, whenever, and we started to do that, and we figured out it was gonna cost like several $1,000s to do that, plus the time to do it.
I don't understand why, and this is built before my time, but I don't understand why the state forced that onto us, is it something called green, or what was it?
Yes, it was the state of the art at the time. I mean, it was the the modern thing, the new, hey, this is cool, you know, we can do this geothermal and it doesn't cost nearly as much to heat and it's.
Because it runs under the practice football field, right?
Yeah, they drill those wells out there and basically it pumps the ground temperature, whatever the ground temperature is below ground, you know, into the building. So in the winter, that warms up the building, in the summer, it cools down the building.
I think it's supposed to keep it at like 50.
But if it's not pumping that air in, then it's not cooling or heating, whatever it's supposed to do.
What's the cost savings? Do you know? Do they ever give you like a cost savings of what it is?
I'm sure in the original,
Yeah, I have to.
in the original proposal and all that, there were some figures with that. But that was actually before my time too. They were putting it in when I got here, but I had never, that was my first experience at all with geothermal.
So we probably pretty much over exceeded our savings to start. Because it seems like every year we're having to put one of those compressors or something.
We've had to put 2 or 3 pumps in, I don't know, over the 13 years I've been here, we've had to do a lot of service to it. I don't know exactly how much we could have to go back and look and see.
I'm just curious if what was spent is a lot less or even or more than what the savings.
And I'm sure
is.
Aaron has a better handle on that than I do. I mean, what the original,
And what's the reason for the pumps being replaced every time?
'Cause they,
well, with different things. Well, I mean, we don't know. Sometimes they think it's a problem with the dirt. Sometimes they just quit. Sometimes it's a sensor not reading. So it's really not the pump, but it's, the technology's not telling the pump to kick on at the right time.
Is the pump in the ground or is it up in,
No, it's in, there's a little room in the,
so do we need to put more filters or something to keep that dirt out, and that's what it is?
That's what we're trying to figure out.
where that's the whole thing is we're trying to, I mean, we had lots of trouble this winter. We had,
That's what we,
it started in the fall. We had some rooms that never got heat last fall, and then they didn't get heat all winter. They didn't get air in the fall.
And that's the thing, I've been on the board now going on 4 years, and that's been the biggest thing. A lot of staff teachers will say, my room hasn't got a heater, we're putting space heaters in there. Now this last time, started as early as April, getting a lot of people saying, our classrooms are too hot, we got fans and the heat, and you're just moving the hot air, so it's like, maybe that needs to be part of our.
Well, and part of that may be I mean, it's never gonna be like,
Perfect.
it's never gonna, I mean, it's not gonna, it's like a heat pump. It doesn't work as well as an air conditioner or a heater. I mean, they just, it's not designed.
it's like inductive. You're not moving air. You're really kind of getting
You're
it
not
around, right?
lowering the temperature, you're not bringing cool enough air in to make a huge difference, you know.
And I hear the same complaints, but it's mostly about the elementary school. This is the first time. I know we've had like equipment problems, you know, getting this fixed. But actually, the first time I've heard anybody
Well,
like
and
staff.
that's true,
or-
we do have some of the same complaints at the other schools too.
I usually hear more about the elementary school than the high school.
One of the main complaints on a specific room in the high school we discovered was that system, that computer system that wasn't talking to the unit. Well, the sensor that was up above on the roof was detecting that it was always 59 degrees in that room. So the air was not kicking on because the unit thought that it was 59 degrees. And so we corrected that part. And so now it's just piecing together the rest of it to kind of get it to jive again.
Do we know if our sped department rooms have been corrected at the high school with heating and
That's
cooling?
the one that sensor has been off and it wasn't communicating with the computer system. So we had the company that at Albuquerque that does our maintenance on that system here with those techs from the construction company and the maintenance supervisor, so that they're teaching him, when this happens, you've got to do this, or when that happens, you've got to do that. So that's as far as we've gotten, because somewhat of the guesstimates of what they're thinking might cost, of course, is above the threshold. And so now I've got to branch out and get other companies to come in and look at it. So that's where we are with that.
It's just, I know our maintenance department is really trying, you know, they get the brunt of it, they can't just go fix it. If they could, they
Right,
probably would. It's just, if people think they're not doing anything, they are.
Right.
And their hands are tied, so I just wanted to be there. But I know this has already been paid, but I'd like to get clarification on this, just to make sure that we're covering our ducks and we're doing the right things.
I have a question. Are we the only school district that uses that type of system, or is there other school districts?
I don't think there are very many school districts using it.
I know there's some in the bigger cities, but I'm not aware of.
I've always heard like the wetlands and stuff, it's very, because the dust has been come down and stuff, so it's more.
I think part of it was, it's probably not a good design for our area.
Yeah.
And we have such extreme changes in temperature too, you know, as you well know, it can be, you know,
Wind and
60 in the morning and 106 in the afternoon.
So, and I believe that, you know, I haven't heard that much complaints out of middle school since you guys put window units and stuff like that. It seems like it's helped a lot. Heard a lot from the elementary, but we know that issue's getting addressed. But for a 5-year plan, if we're going out for bonds, we haven't really discussed and decided.
I think that's something I think we probably should look at that on the 5-year plan. If we don't get this figured out now and get some things solved, to me, that would be a logical thing to put on your long-term plan.
So, Ms. Hernandez, it's in the 5-year plan. Is that in the past 5-year plan? Because I know we're supposed to be creating one now. I know
Well-
we're supposed to be talking. Just wanted to know, we're about to go out for election. People are gonna have to start declaring next month. I
It's
know
in
the
the-
bonding people been here, but we haven't heard back anymore. Like,
It's
what
in
are
the
we at?
talk in the new 5-year plan, which I'll be meeting with them, what week are we? Next week's the last week of July, right? They're actually gonna be, the facility master plan people are gonna start kicking off their meetings with me next week. And so then we're gonna start getting into what the district needs. They're gonna start coming down, looking at the district, looking at our square footage, looking at our priorities and our wants and our needs, and the air is for the middle
Okay.
school and the gym.
So, since the board is in charge of facilities, where does the board come involved in that?
That's where we're gonna start. I know the board we have to have 3 meetings with the public, with the board. And so we'll configure the public meetings so the public can come in and give their input. I think with this company, this is a different company that we went with 5 years ago. And I believe they're more techie, so I think they're gonna put like a survey out that we can put on our Facebook, so, you know, the committee can put their input. But this first meeting is going to be kind of a timeline, when the board's gonna get involved, when the public's gonna get involved, and so for
But
next
there has to
board
be
meeting.
3 community
Right,
board
there
meetings,
has to be 3.
right?
So I should have a lot more information for you by next meeting.
Okay.
As far as
And again, you're doing an excellent job. I don't want to put you on the spot or but I just want to know exactly, because I wasn't part of the last one. So we want to know exactly what we're suiting our district was. So when I'm talking to our constituents, like, yeah, you know, that's why I know why we need this stuff, because now it's hard for me to be like.
Yeah, the board's very involved. The last one I did, this is my second one. So the last time I did this 5 years ago, they come and they do a presentation for you, they do slides, they keep the board very involved.
So you already pretty much have an idea of
Yes.
what we need in the district?
Yeah, we have, the air conditioning at the middle school and the middle school gym. There's talks about possibly resurfacing the track. That's where we've gotten, you know, there's some roofing issues that we wanted, but I think
The storm kind of
The
helped
storm helped
us
us.
out. Yeah, the storm
So
helped
we
us.
might be taking care of that without that, so once we get with them on our first meeting and they go over our priorities and wants and needs, that's when we can get more of a gist of what we're gonna do for the district. And of course, it won't be set in stone because we still have to have community involvement, you know, so.
So all assets in our construction update and stuff, so go ahead and move forward.
Do you have anything else?
So after the checklisting, behind addendum D is our activity bank statement. And just like our operating, we take our ending balance, subtract out our outstanding checks, and that amount also matches our fund balance report for the 23,000 funds. Behind addendum E is our bars. We had one budget adjustment request. Trying to not use acronyms, so it helps out our new board member. Budget adjustment request is we did a transfer bar in our SB9 fund to cover the 1% county taxes, and then there's multiple maintenance bars that I ran to clean up the year end and get our quarterly stuff done. And then all the corresponding journal entries are attached too. That's all I have, unless you have any other questions.
The Silver Line Rehab Construction, they just did consulting. Did they actually do any physical work or just like actual?
They were more consulting, they were figuring out the actual system, finding where the sensors connected where, that was more of an investigation. So that they knew what was going on, that's what's happening.
Okay. I was just curious because usually like if you do work, then you're held liable, right? But like consulting, it's not the same thing.
Yeah, it was more just figuring out the system and seeing what they thought.
Any other questions, Dr. Patricia?
No.
Mr. Lucero?
No.
Mr. Knapp?
Not about this addendum, I apologize, I have a question about addendum A. I know we closed that already, but I'd just like to be kind of caught up on that situation. I've been asked about it ad nauseum around town,
Which one was
the survey.
Oh, the survey,
Yeah.
yeah, it wasn't something that the state, it wasn't,
So we're discontinuing that?
They-
Or we
you
can't?
have the option to opt out of it,
Oh, okay,
so it wasn't forced,
okay.
kids agreed to it.
Mm.
So, yeah, it's not something that, it has nothing to do with.
Right, right, right.
And so, our school-based clinic is just based out of Sunrise.
Yeah.
We just offer them a building to operate out
Gotcha,
of, basically
gotcha.
what it is.
Okay, so it was something that they signed up for with,
Yes, so when they
Okay,
start getting
okay.
physicals,
yeah, yeah.
so the state pushing Sunrise to
I got you.
essentially carry that, but it is fully optional.
Okay, gotcha.
So does Sunrise know about that? Ms. Gonzalez
Yes,
about that? Are
yes.
they-
Yes, they've been involved with the state and stuff.
That was it.
Construction update?
I didn't really, I thought Aaron was gonna take it off the agenda, but I mean, you see what I see, we're getting fence down at the ball field now. Been doing a lot of work. All this rain, I think, has shed some light on how we drain and, that part of it. They're coming along, they're still saying ball fields by October and the heat and air by
End of August.
end of August. And we're doing a test on the electrical over there Wednesday, and we'll be without power while they hook up and make sure everything will run, make sure we have enough power, is the way I understand it. The A side's pretty well done, isn't it? I mean, I was in there today, it looks, we've still got a few ceiling tiles in place, stuff like that, but it's coming along pretty fast on the elementary. We're still gonna have that first couple weeks of school where it's gonna be hot, and they're supposed to provide the portables like they talked about it, like they did at the end of the school year. So it shouldn't be a big problem, but
And it's only gonna affect part of is it A site or C, it's B
I
site,
think it's gonna affect both sides.
both sides.
Well, because won't they crank them all up together?
They need to see if the
Yeah.
power will.
Oh,
They
okay.
just set the units on the B side, what, Friday, Thursday?
Yeah,
Friday?
that's great.
Yeah, they had the
Thursday,
crane here
yeah.
last Thursday, to like 32 units, I think.
Oh, so they probably have to do all the line sets and get all the copper
Yeah.
lines and
They still have to do some of that.
hook up and.
So, Mr. Hernandez, did any of those units get destroyed during the hailstorm? Damaged?
No, not to our knowledge, and if they did, the construction is lagging, it's insured. But I added, the superintendent for the construction company didn't let me know that there was any type of damage.
And how's the roof holding up now that they came in and fixed the roof over there?
I mean, we've got a little minor leaks here and there, but it's not, I think it was more construction wise where they left something unsealed, but for the most part.
Wasn't anything like it was in the beginning.
Yeah. The rainforest,
Pencils
the
floating down the
rainforest is
hallway.
gone.
So do you know what the warranty's gonna be now that they cut into the new roof and stuff like that? What's the warranty? I don't wanna have to replace the roof in 2 years. Are they gonna own up to it? How long are they gonna give us
It's
coverage?
usually a year warranty, and then after that, there's some warranties, but I have a construction meeting with them Wednesday. And I can double check with them all the warranties, but normally it's a year.
I think that was all in the original paperwork. We
Mhm.
probably have some of that somewhere.
Is the elementary not gonna get any roof repairs done after the storm? Or-
I
It
think
didn't look like there was much damage to it, no. No.
Has anybody been up there to assess it?
I believe they went up there, the construction company, to look, and they didn't mention any major damages, just a few leaks here and there, but I can double check with them Wednesday.
We'll all be, the architect and everybody will be on the building
Mhm.
Wednesday to look at all.
Yes.
Okay, I did have something on construction. We noticed that the draining is going towards the northeast of that boys ball field, holding a lot of water. I'm assuming that they're gonna put gravel or rock or something to kind of hold it, the receiving pond. My biggest concern is the runoff coming off 14th Street, or we have 14th Street, going in there. I really wish we would have known this when we were designing our field. Because I kind of think that we probably need to go higher on our field, regardless if it was gonna cost us more, because I just hate to see a washout. And we're blessed to have all the moisture we have now, no telling what we're gonna have 2-3 years down the road. And I know the insurance is there for a purpose, but for washout, what are we doing to prevent that? And I'm sorry, Dave, you getting bombarded with all this.
No, that's fine, because we've talked about it, you know, it's required right now, but it's my understanding that in a year or two, when we're finished with the project, if we want to go in and drop 2 or 3 loads of dirt in there, we can. That's not a permanent thing, it's my understanding. I don't think it has to be.
So I was thinking, and I'm not no engineer or anything, but what about putting like a higher retaining curb to divert the water from that, from going in there? I know that we're gonna act on some of this, NDOT money.
And that's part of what's the idea with the DOT money. I know we're getting ahead of ourselves a little bit, but I think that's part of it is to do the sidewalks around, which also will help with the diversion of the water. Yeah.
Okay, and then I have what all construction do we actually have in the district going on? Do we have anything outside the middle school, whatever, or elementary? You know, there's a lot of stuff that I knew that's happening that I didn't even know was going on. So what all do we actually have going on in the district?
We have the 2 big projects, and then we got the roof at the middle school and a little bit at the auditorium, right? Because those are due to storms, and we
Those
have,
are insurance for
Yeah.
the storms.
yeah. And
So-
then,
We did have an abatement
The-
at the middle school.
yeah, which is part of the insurance. I
Right.
mean, that's all part of
It's all
it.
storm.
Yeah.
So the auditorium, did we have a leak there that we had to rip all the tile out and the floor wasn't ready in the lobby area?
That was like January of 21 or something like that. We had a real bad freeze.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I was wondering, they said that we had to get it floor.
They did that, we got a new floor, it wasn't satisfactory, so we got another new floor.
And what it was, I guess it was an older leak caused by the skylights and, it made the tile buckle. And so to not have that problem anymore, we went ahead and took away the tile and put that kind of flooring so that if we do have a future leak, there won't be that buckle in the middle.
So is it almost like a polished concrete?
It's epoxy,
Epoxy? Oh, okay.
kind of like the beach of epoxy,
Okay. Should be good.
kind of a like brown and tan.
Low maintenance, yeah, oxy.
Okay, well, no, I was just wondering what all construction we had in the district.
Yeah, and that part's over, but other than we've still got a little storm leak, over there.
Right.
So we've had people in to look at it, and the insurance has had people in to look at it, actually.
Did they get the skylights fixed at the elementary school? Cause I noticed there were stains there, like it was leaking.
I'm guessing no, probably never get those
Yeah.
skylights fixed.
They've had stains.
Yeah, they-
Skylights are some architect's good idea,
Yeah.
but it doesn't work, but that's just my opinion. I've never seen them not leak, but, as far as I know, right now, we're not having major issues. A lot of that is old stains, and it even kind of peeled off the paint in some places. So I say that, and next time you go in there, there'll be trash cans sitting on the ground.
Don't use yourself.
But,
Maybe I'll wait on the building and start, you know.
maybe,
Maybe it'll quit settling.
maybe they'll do a
so
good
much out
job
down
on
the-
top
all
around
the
there, I don't
shifting.
know. Am I gonna sit there and say we've got to fix where they won't leak? No, I'm not gonna say that. Because I've had too many skylights and I've never had them not leak, so. I don't think there's a big issue right now.
Any other questions over the superintendent's report?
No. The only thing I'll say is about the curb, I agree. Just gotta make sure, because I know one time you try to fix something, you make it worse in a different spot. So you just gotta have an engineer kind of double check.
And like I said, I don't know exactly, there's gotta be something we can do to spread that water around both ends to where it doesn't go right.
Wash out.
And some of that may happen, you know, naturally as they build it up there.
And I know when you plant the grass helps prevent any
That's
of
gonna
the,
slow that water down.
slow the water down, it doesn't carry the soil away. So, and I like your suggestion of, I know it's a lot of money to do it right now, but it's always something you can do it in the future.
And I don't think we're allowed to do it. As long as they're on site, the SWIFT people, whatever the acronym is, I mean, they're the one that makes us do it, and they come out after every rain and check and make sure we're not putting anything into the city gutters and sewer, which if we weren't doing the building, that water would be going to the same place. So I don't understand the bureaucracy of having to do that, but they are doing site. They made us put up a rain gauge. They know how much the construction company has to report. If they go out there and it rains, they have to report to them, and they may or may not come out depending on.
So that wasn't a change order at all for that?
I don't think so. I think that was just I think it was that group coming in saying, you have to do that.
Right.
You know, they also, if you'll notice, I don't know if you've been out there lately, but they got the little yellow tracks at the gate. That's because the construction trucks were tracking mud off of that onto the dirt street. We're tracking mud onto mud, and they were gonna make us do something. That was the cheapest way out, was just to get something to knock the mud off of them before they went out there.
They do the same thing with like asphalt, when you're putting
Yeah.
things in the hot plant, you can't track the dirt that's on the ground.
Right,
And
and
mix it
that's
in like
the idea, but except for that street that has already been improved, you know, and then it's not improved with asphalt, so it didn't make a lot of sense to me that they were hurting anything by doing that, but they told them, and so it was gonna cost us, what, an extra $10,000?
$10,000 for what they wanted us
For what they wanted us to do. We negotiated with them, we got the yellow things out there, the cattle guard thing,
And it's working.
and right now, they haven't told us.
I mean, they're happy with it.
They're happy,
They're
to- yeah.
They haven't
They're
tried to
happy.
come in and fine us another $10,000.
No other questions? We'll move on to action items. And we need to do, are gonna move an item, action item, you have to read the whole. Like the agenda, we can pass it, but action items have to read the whole, yes.
Yeah, normally we'll have a consent agenda on there too. We don't this time. And you can, when you do approve the consent agenda, you're approving everything.
This we have to approve separately, yes, sir. Right, action item A, permission for business manager to put budget adjustments throughout the 2023-2024 school year, addendum H. If there's no question, I'll entertain a motion to pass that action item.
Shall move.
Second that.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Knapp,
Yes.
Mrs. Gonzalez,
Yes.
Dr. Pacheco,
Yes.
Mr. Lucero,
Yes.
Mr. Lopez.
Yes.
Next will be action item B, resolution number 2023-02, participation in local government road fund.
Is this the NMDOT fund?
Yes. And that's just, that's the match. What do we get? Is it like a quarter, 25% match? for us?
75.
Yeah,
75.
So what do we plan on doing with this project?
That we're gonna do at the fields, the actual sidewalk that Mr. Johnson was talking about. That street or that dirt road that they,
14th Street?
right, so,
The outer sidewalk?
yes, the outer sidewalk of the field, that's
Between
what.
that and the chain link, right?
I'm sorry?
Between that and the chain
Right,
link.
yes.
And again, that might give us an opportunity, after we see what's left there, that may give us an opportunity to build the sidewalk up and make the curve out. I mean, we may have some options there.
So it's gonna have a curve and then the sidewalk.
Well, I don't know exactly what it will have. I mean, I don't know the specs of it right now. But if we're doing that work, that would give us an opportunity to possibly do a curve with the sidewalk or something.
So then we'll actually have to go to the city to get permission to put curb and sidewalk in there, since it's not developed, but since we're doing a new development, we shouldn't get fined.
The construction companies that we hire usually will go out and get the permits. It's part of all that.
I guess that's a public city street, so yeah, I'm sure there were.
So if we do this, we're only gonna do up to what we own, right? Up to the
Correct.
little league right there?
Correct.
And I wonder if we can get the city to do the remainder all the way up.
That was
Because-
my intention was to tell the city, hey, we're gonna do this part. I don't want the city's side to look
Yeah.
So
bad, so.
do you
Like that.
mind asking what'll be the additional cost
I can,
from there? And then when you get it, please let me know.
So this part of the co-op, normally I kind of get with a construction company, usually local, and I'll say, what do you think ish it would cost? This just gives me an idea of what it might cost. I still have to procure it, I still have to go out, get some bids. After that, once I have more of an idea of what it's really gonna cost, then I can get and I can ask this, I can tell that construction company, say, okay, how much you think it would be from that side? And I'll present it, put it in my little board for the city and see what they.
With something like this, it should be pretty easy, just figure the extra feet.
Right.
It should be the same slope and everything. I mean, everything will be the same, just be how many more feet of sidewalk do they need to purchase?
Mhm.
It should be easy to get that estimate.
I'm just worried because if we go up to there and then water gets behind, on our sidewalk and gets in between, start moving that way,
Right.
so. Okay, well, Madam President, I make a motion to, take action on resolution number 2023-02, participation of local road funds program by the Director of Park Transportation at the end of line.
I'll second that.
Roll call, please.
Dr. Pacheco,
Yes.
Mr. Lucero,
Yes.
Mrs. Gonzalez,
Yes.
Mr. Lopez,
Yes.
Mr. Knapp.
Yes.
Next will be action item C, resolution number 2023-03, Tucumcari Board of Education Open Meetings Resolution 2023-2024 school year, addendum J. And this is just something we have to pass every year.
Yeah, I really, again, I don't know the bureaucracy. If it's law that we have to do it, I don't know why we
We
have
have
to
to pass.
pass a
it, yes.
resolution to do it, but we did it so. And we do it every year.
Madam President, I ask that we go ahead and add that we start advertising on our local, Facebook platform on it as well.
What our policy is.
Yeah, it says, 'cause this is the Open Meetings Act, what we're going to be doing each year. Also, our minutes are not posted to our website. Is there an option to do that?
I thought he posted them.
For the minutes for the last,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I ever posted.
It's an easy thing.
Oh, you do yes, sorry, he does
Yes,
agendas.
agenda, right.
Yes,
But I can post the minutes. I did it.
okay.
It was just brought to my attention, they was asking to reflect back on those minutes, and they was asking, I can't find them on your website, and every other government and stuff like that, are like, I was like, well,
So as soon as they're approved, like tonight's approved minutes.
I can send them to
You can
him.
make that correction and then send it to him, he posts
Just have to let everybody know that it's delayed, it's not. I think
Yeah,
some people think it's gonna
It's
be
not
up,
the
Yeah.
meeting,
that,
Yeah.
after,
it needs to be approved before.
they wanna know what we talked about tonight, they wanna see it
And that
tomorrow,
won't-
but they're not gonna see that until
Tell them.
the day after, the week after week.
yeah,
The
and
next
I've been explaining to them, I said, if you really want to know from word to word, go YouTube, you'll hear it word to word live, so, but again. Madam President, with said corrections, I go ahead and make a motion to, resolution number 2023-3, Tucumcari Board of Education Open Meetings Act, resolution 2023 to 2024 school year, addendum J.
Shouldn't it be 23, 24? On the upper right?
Yep.
Mhm.
And also with said correction, what Dr. Pacheco said.
Yes, yeah, I see it now.
Oh, no, that's two.
So nice.
I'll second that.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Gonzalez,
Yes.
Dr. Pacheco,
Yes.
Mr. Lucero,
Yes.
Mr. Knapp,
Yes.
Mr. Lopez.
Yes.
Next will be action item B, part-time employee resolution 2023-04 for 2023-2024 school year, addendum K.
Madam President, I make a motion for part-time employee resolution 2023-04 for probably the same thing. For 2023-2024 school year, addendum K.
I'll second that.
Roll call, please.
Dr. Pacheco,
Yes.
Mr. Lucero,
Yes.
Mr. Knapp,
Yes.
Mr. Lopez,
Yes.
Mrs. Gonzalez.
Yes. Last will be action item E, conflict of interest, addendum L.
We take action on this as well?
Yes.
Madam President, go ahead and make a motion for the conflict of interest agenda now.
I'll second it.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Lucero,
Yes.
Mr. Knapp,
Yes.
Mr. Lopez,
Yes.
Mrs. Gonzalez,
Yes.
Dr. Pacheco.
Yes.
Okay, next will be board comments, Dr. Pacheco.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Robert, you were there too. I went to the new coaches, football coaches, for the orientation.
Yeah.
And I thought he had a lot of good things to say. And I think the most important thing that I got out of it was there was a lot of people wanting change, and they got change, and now it's their, how do we say it? You wanted change, now we have change, now it's time to be part of that change. So I think everybody should go out and support them, and look forward to this new season, and hope we see a lot of purple out there and everybody gets into it. So
Mr. Lucero?
Yeah, and I talked to a lot of the kids and, they're real excited, they're all showing up. Every day I take my grandson up there to school and come to the gym and they're all there ready to practice. That's a good thing.
I know they were trying to get their feet wet
I
on the
think they did
7-on-7.
the
Yeah.
first 7-on-7 thing Friday or Saturday, whatever it was.
I think they went 1 and 3.
And I talked to Coach, he said the other 3, they were competitive. He said they just get blown out, so
So was it one,
he was
three, or-
pretty.
They won 1 and lost
Won
3.
one and-
Okay,
It's
And they were-
basically like physical two-hand touch.
yeah.
And they were
Yeah.
playing schools that do it pretty much.
Yeah,
That's
Yeah, but
That
I've
was our
never
first
done,
time,
yeah,
so
I've never done.
he thought they did a pretty good job. I talked to him today a little bit.
And the kids were telling me that, they like the coach went in there and plays with them too, he gets in there and throws the balls with them and, plays a little bit of football with them, so that's a good thing. They're excited.
He's played quite a bit of football.
Yeah.
Mr. Knapp?
Yeah, I've heard positives, just from parents, or some of the players. I think some of the kids were maybe fed up or discouraged with football, and now they've kind of sparked their interest again, and they're more involved. And I mean, I love to see the bleachers full on Friday night, so
Yeah,
I think that's the way it should be. So yeah, I'm excited for it. It's good.
Mr. Lopez?
Same thing what everybody else has been iterating. I just want the general public to know that, if we're not winning, we still gotta continue to support our athletes and also, we gotta give this coach time.
Yeah, that's a good point. I'm glad you brought that up, because I started to mention, I hope everybody's not thinking we're gonna go out and
Yeah,
Yeah.
win the Super Bowl first.
Yeah.
yeah, that's what the coach said.
And that's what
too,
he's
you
I hope we
gonna
do,
take
but,
these these freshmen and these 8th graders. That's what he was
If
excited. He
He needs a little time to build his
Yeah.
program.
he has a lot of. He said he had a
That's
lot of
good point,
younger.
Mr. Lopez. That's good.
Yeah, he said that, he might not win this year, but he's not here just for this year, he's going to be here for the long run, he said.
Well, I think, I may be speaking out of turn, but y'all will be the ones that will get the calls. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah.
if they don't like how he's doing, they're probably not gonna call Mr. McKinney or I, they're probably gonna tell you. So you can do a lot to say, hey, give the guy a chance.
Yeah.
You can help him out a lot, I think.
And he even said that. He said that he wanted him and the parents to be on the same page before they say anything, just to call him. And, he had a lot of valid points of, hey, it's my job to make sure that your kids are protected. If they didn't go to practice all week, I don't want to throw them in there and then get hurt. That's why I do it. It's not, punishment. It's my job to make sure that they're safe and that they're ready to play and that they're able to play.
And I think the biggest problem is a lot of parents they get upset because they feel like their kid is not participating or playing. But, we're teaching the kids to compete at a competitive level. If they want the best, put on the best, and it's no, offense to a kid that maybe not be a standout athlete, but he's part of that team, that one player that's making a point.
And that's part of the lesson they learn, is how to work yourself up to be a
Yeah.
bigger part,
Like he said too, he said, the quarterback might be the best quarterback we got, but if he didn't show up, he got somebody else taking his place, and he's not gonna take him out just because he showed up for that game, he's gonna sit him out,
Yeah.
which is only right.
So, and I think that's good. It's great, like what Dr. Pacheco said, people were asking for change, the change is here. We just can't just judge them on the first night or, the first 6 games. Let's give him a chance, and I hope, faculty and everybody else is behind him as well, because, being a new kid on the block is kind of hard to set in. You're afraid you're gonna ruffle the feathers the wrong way, and guess what? And then it kind of puts him down. So again, football coach, we're glad to have you on board. School starts next month. It's already here. Wow, I can't believe it. But I really have concerns about our middle school policy, about the discipline. And I'd like to see how we can revisit that and make sure if there's anything that we need to do, any changes with it. What I'd like to see is the consistency of disciplinary from high school, middle school, and elementary, per se, for safer fighting. I believe, if you're engaged in a fight, I believe the discipline says you're out for 8 days. I think that should go from high school to middle school to elementary, So if we can discuss that, I really appreciate that.
We normally will put the handbooks on and the policy that they have is there. You can approve or disapprove. You know, I'm not sure if it's kind of like we got into the dress code. I'm not sure if it's the policy that's wrong or it's the interpretation and the enforcement, consistency, some of those things. And, you know, like you just made a good point, it needs to be consistent. Yet I think I could make the point where a third grader might not realize, he might not be able to hold his temper like a ninth grader should be able to. I mean, there should be some consistency, but there are different maturity levels that we're dealing with too, and probably different levels of intensity of a fight. I mean, you know, so I mean, I think I get what you're saying, but I think it ought to be discussed, and you know, it ought to be.
It's just,
Because I think a preschooler calling somebody a name is verbal assault. A preschooler shouldn't get 1 day of ISS versus like a high school. I think that's what you're saying, right?
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. I mean, we do need consistency, but I'm not sure we need it so black and white that it puts a third grader off the bus for 2 weeks, you know, just because he switched seats one time, where a high school kid, you know, if you tell them, no, don't be moving around on the bus, that should be enough.
Are you talking more maybe consistency of elementary being all consistent within that ecosystem? Middle school
And
being,
that may be Jerry's point too.
Yeah.
is
Middle
being
school
consistent
being
within
consistent.
your system.
Yeah.
so I'm not gonna put out what school it is, but I get numerous complaints like, little Johnny and little Johnny number 2 got in a fight, got 8 days, and then little Billy and the other little Billy got 4 days, you know, so it's like, wait a minute, they both were engaged in a fight, and what happened?
And I think it comes down, because this came up before, a number of offenses.
Yes.
So if it's this first child's first time fighting, they get a lesser punishment because it's their first time being the offense.
If it's their first
Versus-
time, it's a 4-day offense. If it's their second time, it's an 8-day.
There's the difference
So,
there.
Yeah,
And I know that they're not supposed to know
yeah.
each other's punishment because that's not part of it.
And if they call up here, I will explain it to them, but again, I think a lot of times they call you all directly instead of.
And I've noticed a lot when they call us, it's like, just call Aaron or Mr. Johnson, and then they never follow up. So,
Also, I had some parents, and I've asked them to call to you guys, I don't know if you got it yet, but the biggest thing is the vaping pens and, the wax pens, or whatever they're calling from this cannabis place. They're saying they're really fruity smell, you can't really tell, people think the mistake it's bubble gum, it's chewing, but it's actually smoking THC. It's gonna be hard, that's why I wish this compliance officer was already in place.
they're still prohibited if it's smoking no matter what, right?
Right.
It could be,
But it's just harder to
Pure.
detect, because the old days, the cigarette smell, you could smell all over
Yeah.
the building, and these, you can't smell.
Yeah,
Yeah, they go
Or
to the
like you say, or
restroom.
what you do smells fruity, and you don't know if it's juicy fruit or
yeah,
whatever they got.
is the punishment the same if it's nicotine versus marijuana? Because if it's the same, it doesn't really matter, does it?
yeah, I just,
It's at least the same, I think, but I don't know.
The only thing that I can, I'm going a different way with this. Sometimes they can be masked as something different. I've seen some that look like a Sharpie,
Mhm.
and you wouldn't know it's a Sharpie until you took the lid off.
Yeah.
That's what I'm concerned about.
Miss Brian Leslie has a collection that she's taken up.
If
In
the
her
punishment's the same, I don't think we have to change anything. It just might be maybe the
Making us
school
more aware.
Making
The
it more
teachers may not be
aware.
I don't know.
of what they look like. You know, if the punishment's the same, we don't have to change the policy, but just making,
What I hear when I talk to other school people is the problem has exploded and you can't catch them. And, you know, they have vape detectors, but you still can't go in the bathroom with them. I mean, you still don't know. They come out and, you know, they don't have it on them. They flushed it.
you
And
can't
it's
frisk
just like,
them. and-
well,
Yeah.
it's
So-
still,
what is Logan doing? Logan jumped on the lawsuit. What are they installing there that they?
I do not know. I'll talk to Dennis and see, but, so
They were part of a vape lawsuit. Ron Worthing part of something, or
Yeah, Jewel.
Jewel?
No,
okay.
that was-
Yeah.
So that's
Class
That's a
action
negative.
lawsuit.
So that's a class action.
And were they getting sued or doing something? They're gonna install something for that?
Well, I can attest, because I've seen the signs, that they do have vape detectors. I don't know how they work, but they do have signs warning, hey, if you use a vape, we're gonna find out. So,
I don't know,
I don't know.
I've heard they don't work near as well as they were talked up to be, and a lot of people
Yeah, I
waste their
don't
money on it. Now, I don't know that, and I'll be glad to talk to Dennis, because, the less of these things we have to deal with, and the more we can teach kids, that's what we're all here for. I mean, that's why y'all give up your time, is to give them an education, and the more we can give them an education rather than, running around the bathroom, the better.
Just two more things. Well, this one, Mr. Johnson, do you know, or Ms. Blanca, do you know where we're at on the start of the superintendent search?
I know Mr. McKinney has downloaded some stuff and talked to CES, I believe. And I know that because I've seen the recommended checklist of things you should do.
So there's kind of a process of what needs to be done and what needs to be followed.
Yeah, he's researched it some, but I don't know, I mean, as far as I know, we haven't advertised for anything yet, and it may be too early to advertise, I don't know. It probably depends on how long Mr. McKinney stays.
Okay. Last, Ms. Martinez, our budget, do you know if it's already been approved, accepted?
Yes.
The new budget, so do we have to vote on the final budget coming soon?
Um,
The preliminary budget that we voted on?
so once it's approved by the board, then PED approves it, and then it's,
When you
that's
approved it,
it.
you approved it.
Okay, so we did a preliminary, I remember, because I questioned about the preliminary, about, finding the case we wanted to add for superintendent. But my question I have a question on regarding stipends. Do we have a scale of stipends? Who's all receiving stipends, and how much stipend are they receiving throughout the district?
We do have a spreadsheet that kind of shows the stipends as far as coaching, and I can't even think of all the stipends that are on there.
Extracurricular activities, yes.
Yeah.
So that's the only one, that's not including all employees that's applied within the district. I believe there's some employees that
You
get an additional stipend.
you can get an additional stipend for whatever. I mean, if they go above and beyond and do something that they wouldn't do, you can pay them a stipend for that.
So do you have a list of all that?
I don't have a list. I could work on putting one together, but I don't have, a list of everybody currently receiving.
Yeah, because
the
when I
stipend.
was looking through my budget, I was like, I know there's other people that are receiving stipends besides our extra.
Does the board approve the stipends? The central office.
The board approves
Like
the
Ms. Gaither received
the stipends that are on the
handling two,
salary schedule, which are kind of set.
Offered that to her to
ahead of
organize the tutoring out of the whatever grant that was at the time.
Okay, so, but that's something.
So then she wouldn't be, that stipend wouldn't be on that list because it's not an every year stipend. It's a year to year.
So what I'm getting is that I believe that we approved the budget, and so everything comes out of it, come on board. So I'd like to see exactly who's all receiving, a stipend within the district, from administration all the way down to you guys at the bus driver, whatever. I'd like to see who's all receiving a stipend. If I can get that, because I know that's part of our budget, and so, and if you could, Ms. Hernandez, if you can just let me know about, I'd really appreciate it. That's it, Madam President.
Same thing, lots of positive about football and also lots of positive about powerlifting. That the
Yes.
kids are excited about the coach because he gets in there and he teaches them the way that he likes to do it, the way they could possibly want to do it. And, there's been a lot of happy kids with that as well. And same thing, lots of complaints on the inconsistency of discipline at middle school, and probation officer is the one that suggested that they would like to see them follow more of the discipline matrix that the high school follows. Because they said some of these situations, they had to fight out at school. Nobody let the police know, so then it spilled out somewhere else. And if they could have stopped it there, so it's just like, I think they just want more police involvement, so that way JPO doesn't get blindsided by a lot of these issues and stuff, so. When it does pour out of the school. But other than that, it's hard to believe we're already here.
The next meeting where school has already started.
School's already started.
I don't have a music teacher yet. I don't know if I'm gonna get one or not. There aren't a lot of applicants, but I've talked to Ms. Fry Leslie. She comes back on staff, back to work on Monday. At the high school, those kids, there were only 7 or 8 kids that he was serving, so we can absorb those into the system if we don't, but then we don't have a music program at all. So, so we've advertised, we want to keep one, and then he also served the middle school, and that's where it's gonna be a little bit more of an issue to find something for those kids to do during their elective, because a lot of those, all those sixth graders went through the band program.
So, I got a question on that. So what happened to our actual band program? Our band program used to be the hype of, that, football games, basketball games. Was it just the lack of interest with our students, or is it equipment, or is it staff?
It's lack of interest in the students. I mean, you can even go to the bigger schools and their bands are smaller.
That's how it is pretty much with any program, right?
And I can't really place it. I wasn't a music person, but I had two daughters that were. And we were in a small school and they had a band at football games, and it was mostly junior high kids, because the high school kids were either playing or cheering or something else. But they still were able to maintain that. But most of the schools we played didn't. I mean, we were like the exception to the rule.
It just catches me because, Clayton, maybe they don't have nothing to do. Clayton has a phenomenal band program there. Pecos has one, they're small communities.
I think a lot of it depends on, just like you were talking with football coach. You get somebody that can generate interest and motivate, and there are kids out there that have that interest. And I think that you have a strong program. And I think if you don't have that, then
If I remember right, Santa Rosa having a little larger band group, but most of them, I would say like 80% were middle school. There wasn't a lot of high school participation.
And then when I went to graduation, they had them all sit up there and they did all the music for the graduation, pretty good sized band.
I think in JD's and Heather's time, they had the marching band here. High school time.
I
We
remember
always
times,
had, yes, but
yeah, I remember times that was
when I
more
coached,
band members in the bleachers than there was band.
and
Yeah.
and then when I coached, that's when Mr. Borden's kids and
Yeah.
Mr. Russell's kids had that little rock band that they
Yeah.
had before, and they were good. I mean,
Yeah.
that
And even
was
something,
good.
anything like that generates some interest.
Yeah.
I mean, I get it.
Are we short on any other positions that we haven't been able to fill?
I'm still looking at one elementary position, but I got a good applicant in today. And yeah, actually, it was almost a month ago. It was the beginning of it, but yeah. And she was a good one. Went to Logan. They're gonna move out there, so.
And we gotta figure out something to get these kids back over here. I know there's 3 of them going to San Juan. I talked to the parents and they said they're taking them out, moving them to San Juan. We gotta figure out what we can do to get them all back over here.
I know a lot of times with the staff, it's usually they have ties there, they live there already,
Anybody else have anything?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Good night.
Jesus, 5:13.
Oh, you were. Yeah, so we ended up just, I don't keep track.
Actually, the secretary, Dylan, I just.
Particularly like, they said, oh,
I'm wrong.
it's,